Yo, what day is today? Today's Thursday, May 5th. Check that out. Daddy's got lumber. Also, my town is a huge pain in the... I have not had a real man cave update for you guys, a significant one, in about 6 to 8 months. This past month, we ran into another obstacle with my friggin' town. We're pushing like 60 grand. 1 year later, 1 year plus later. Welcome, folks, to phase 2. Phase 1 complete. The daddy vlog continues. If you haven't already, go check out phase 1. That video is up on the channel right now, where we walk through the entire collection room, discuss the plans for the collection room to be. We also go through the somewhat painful, but not really, cleanup process and removal of box fill. And we also go through the quote for the framing that is starting today. Today is Friday, May 6th. As you can see, the plastic wrap is lining the room. I had no idea it was going to be this full-blown operation here, but it's great. I'm very happy to see this. I thought maybe they would just like drape the plastic over the collection, but we have the wall O plastic. Normally we're talking about the pyramid O crap down here. I'd much rather talk about the wall O plastic. So I think between the wall O plastic and all of the storage bins that my stuff is in, we're double bagging it. I'm confident that the collection right behind me over there is safe. And we also have, Daddy got wood, bro. Daddy got lumber. Chris and his eldest son came last night, not only just to plastic wrap the joint, but to transport all the lumber that was delivered that you see behind me. We got some of the 2x4x16s over there. Brought all the lumber down from the driveway that was delivered, and we are ready to go. Construction starts, I don't know, within the next T-minus 30 minutes. Chris should be here any moment. I need to get to the gym and then go to work. So updates to follow. It has begun, as Shang Tsung would say. I would insert the Mortal Kombat 1 "it has begun" thing, but they're probably going to copyright me or do something stupid because I can't even get away with half a second of doing stuff like that anymore. So I'm not, and I'm digressing. So updates to follow. Hi, it's about a month later. It's June 15th. As you can see behind me, not much from a construction standpoint has been done in the past 4 to 5 weeks, but a lot of planning and logistics and me walking around down here talking to myself, trying to figure out the final floor plan. That has been happening. Framing was done within 2 days. So 4 or 5 weeks ago, when we started this, when we actually started construction down here, the framing was done instantly. Chris did a great job in turning that around in really short order. Also, my town is a huge pain in the ass. I want to do this once. I want to do it right. And that's what we're going to do. And that means I need a permit. So yesterday, June 14th, my contractor, Chris, and an engineer, high school alum, Ardsley alum, didn't get me a discount. He's going to bang me out for $3,200 to write a floor plan for a permit. That's fine. So right now, all in at the moment, and you guys saw, if you haven't already, go watch the phase 1 video. But for just the framing of this room, cost of materials and labor, that came out to $4,500. If we add on the permit cost of $3,200, we're already starting to push 10 grand. And as you can see, we're not really all too built out yet. So, but again, I want to do this once. I want to do it right. The past 4 weeks have been, in short, a lot of planning, finalizing the format, and just really getting on the same page with all of these contractors who are very busy. And so, as you can imagine, something like this is a process. It's not going to happen bing, bang, boom. As much as I'd love it to happen bing, bang, boom, it's just not. But that's what's been up the past month. I should have the permit floor plan very soon, within a week. I will sign off on that, pay for that, and then we'll be back into the construction game. So, bro, it's been a while. It's been a very long while. In fact, it is February 22nd, 2023. I have not had a real man cave update for you guys, a significant one, in about 6 to 8 months, something like that. I don't know, something like that. Crazy. And the reason being is because my town is a pain in the neck. It's very particular. It's a bit disorganized. And I was trying to get a permit to do the right thing, to have peace of mind so that any of the construction that's about to commence doesn't come back to bite me in the butt down the road for whatever reason. We have the permit now, and we are going to resume construction in a few days on the 25th of this month. The same day that I'm getting married, ironically. I won't be here, we won't be here, we're not getting married at the house. So the electrician, which also took a while to really vet out and find the right guy for the job, we have decided on an electrician. He is going to start his work on Saturday. The building inspector came to check out and inspect the framing. Lots of inspecting going on here. That all checked out. So I'm very excited. Construction resumes this Saturday. But today I did want to go over the final layout of this room. Now, anyone that's followed along with this video series and this build out, you would have already watched and have seen the man cave update videos solely regarding the room layout, the floor layout, that I have already released over the last few months. So you might be asking yourselves, if you've seen those videos, Century, why do we need another one of these? I thought you already figured out the final layout like 10 times. I thought I did. And it's like the boy who cried layout. What's going to make this different? Well, like I mentioned to you guys, the electrician is starting work in a few days. The cabinet maker came back and he is quoting things out, and he's going to start ordering stuff based on the layout, the walkthrough that we're about to go through right now, the same exact walkthrough that I had with the cabinet maker and my main contractor barely a week ago is what I'm about to show you guys and share with you guys. And it's because I've had almost a year to walk down through this space. It's been a godsend. Honestly, it's been a godsend, this whole permit process, because it's given me ample time, the amount of time that I truly needed to figure out what I wanted the identity of this room to be, how it was going to look and feel. And truly a lot has changed since the last walkthrough. So we're gonna get into that right now. I'm gonna step through the invisible door behind me, and I will show you guys exactly what this room is going to look like. And into the fray we go. We just stepped through the invisible door there. As you guys can see, I have these wood blocks laid out on the floor, and these wood blocks denote standalone custom displays that I will be putting my vintage play sets on. Now, if you guys have been watching along with these Man Cave update videos, you might be asking yourselves, what the heck is that thing? We'll get to that in a moment. But you might be asking yourselves, or asking me, Century, I thought you were putting statues here. And I was, but I recently made the decision to move away from statues. Very comfortable with that decision, very happy with that decision for a few different reasons. One, if I let statues dominate 2/3 of this main room, I would never be able to have the real toy room of my dreams. I wouldn't be able to do all the things that I would have wanted to do, and I would have regretted that. That, along with other reasons that I've mentioned on the channel during coffee talks, we won't get into that stuff now, but I'm done with statues, and this is all going to be vintage play sets in standalone displays all around this first part of the main room. So as far as the dimensions go, 24 by 24 by 48, so 24 inches wide by 24 inches deep by 40 inches high. That's one cube. The paint stirrers, they denote gaps in between each display. So imagine a gallery style, 40 inch high, 24 by 24 standalone box. Got a space there. So I'll have foot room, wiggle room to get in to put art on the wall if I want. All right, another 24 by 24 by 40 box. This corner's a little bigger, 30 by 30 by 40. I think aesthetically that'll look nice. Gap, 24 by 24 by 40, so on and so forth, all the way down the row. On the opposite wall, same thing. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4 more of the 24 by 24 by 40 boxes, all of which I will have vintage play sets on, or, you know, big vintage toys on, like the Clash of the Titans Kraken, which will, I don't know why, but I just have like this idea that he's going to be somewhere over there. But anyway, vintage play sets, big vintage pieces are all going to be right here when you walk in. This gap over here, I have this 1980s Punisher shipper that is, and you guys know I love my shippers. It's about 52 inches high by 39 inches wide. Stuff you'd find in comic shops in the late 80s, early 90s. So I'm going to put that guy right here. And even, you know, in the future, if that ever got swapped out for any reason, it's just, I did want floor space. So you can do things like put shippers down on the floor, put other sort of vintage memorabilia that stands tall, that you wouldn't necessarily put on top or inside something. So I definitely, you know, canisters, containers, those sort of things. Other kinds of floor displays. So this spot is generally going to be, this is just an open spot. And I plan to put something specific there, like I just mentioned. And then we come to the middle of this room. This is another thing that I thought of recently that I'm very excited for. So if you look here in the middle, 1, 2, 3, and 4, that is going to be a 30 by 30 cube. The height on that guy is going to be 48 inches high. I believe I have it at, or maybe it was 40 inches high. Yeah, I think I kept that 40. So yes, that's not 48. Initially, I was going to do 48. That's going to be too high. So it's 30 by 30 by 40 in the middle. Same as that one in the corner. Over here, up against each side of that box will be a 20-inch wide, 15-inch deep box. And that will be by 36 inches high. And so what I'm going for here is this multi-tiered display that I'm going to have Duarte Studios build out a custom Mythic Legions diorama for me. He's going to do landscape on all of this. I have a concept for it. He and I have been talking since Legions Con, where we met. Amazing guy, hard worker, super talented. I am very excited for him and this project. And that's what's going to go right here. Is going to be just some, I'm thinking castle ruins in the middle with forest along the side. And I like the idea of, you know, having along the sides here, to have the sides a little shorter than the middle, because I think that, you know, layering something, especially with landscape, there's a whole lot more we can do with something that looks and is more multidimensional than just something flat. So he's going to go to town on this thing, and I am very excited for that. So we're going to put a bunch of Mythic Legion stuff right here. We're going to have one big battle scene in the middle of the room. And then that leads us to the back end of the main room. Over here, we've got about a 49-inch wide by 20-inch deep by 80-inch high cabinet, like a standard, just a custom bookcase, essentially, with LED lighting that's going to light up the front end of the box, which should light up everything. So that's going to be a tower there. There will be a 10-inch riser closed off, and then toys and everything start right above that. So I'll have 70 inches of toy space on that. And then next to it is going to be similar to what we saw over here. It's just going to be on steroids. It's about 20 inches or so wide, 36 inches deep, 40 inches high, of just one long shelf. And that's going to be for, this is going to be for my Motu Origins display. Most specifically, this thing is being designed for and around the Eternia playset. So, and I think I might even have Duarte do some Motu landscape, Motu terrain there. You know, pretty simple stuff, I would say, you know, compared to the Mythic Legions scene that we're looking to build and world we're looking to build behind me. But yeah, so Attorney is going to go here. All the Origins play sets and hopefully Origins play sets to be will go all right there. I'll most likely mix in some Zolo World as well. And then on this end, to even out the other side of the room, we're going to have another 49 by 20 by 80 cabinet all lit up. The cabinets will be LED strips and multicolored. I should mention the ceiling will have these wafer lights, which are essentially non-recessed lighting. So it's not the canned lighting that goes into the ceiling of the room. They're like that thick or thin, and they sit flush essentially on the ceiling. So we're gonna do wafer lights, across the top. I'm not going to go into how many we're doing, but then we're going to do gimbal lights along the edges here, across that side, and then right up across this side that will be pointing directly down into each individual display. So should have plenty of lighting. It's important to me to have proper lighting, and so that's what we should have. I think we're doing one transformer box at the beginning of the room, 2 runs, one for the main lights, and then another for just the outer edges, plus the tower box, that tower box, and then the nook in here that we're about to get into. So the nook in here, as I'll explain in a minute, that'll have a multicolor option, same as these 2 towers, and the rest of the room will just be like a cool white. So the gimbals and that are going over there and the wafer lights, that'll all be a cool white. So that's the main room. The color scheme, I'm doing red walls, blackish gray tile, black ceiling, black lights. I want this to really feel like a cozy, warm escape, give that real studio gallery vibe to it. And so that's going to be the color scheme throughout. Cabinets are going to be black. And then here we enter the toy nook area. This has seen a lot of changes. Starting from here, comes out about 20 inches deep here. It'll run all the way down, as you can see, denoted by these blocks, angled out, and then it'll go in a little bit where we have about 10.5 inches of depth, and then just go straight to this wall. So think of Billy bookcase, but just custom. And then we'll have the LED lights that, just like the tower, will be installed on the front end of this whole thing to light everything up. So walking into this room, back out for a sec. Walking into this room, you're looking at it literally floor to ceiling with a 10-inch riser, floor to ceiling, straight up shelving for toys, lit up all the way to there. And I think that'll be nice and clean. One of the challenges with this space is this part. The angularness of this room has made it challenging to figure out, at least for me, to figure out what's going to be the cleanest display that I can also make the most efficient for having ample space, utilizing ample space, or the most space I possibly can for my toys, without compromising the aesthetic. So you have this little jog in the wall there, then this angled panel, this goes flat and goes in, that angled panel. I thought of a million which ways to do this. And then of course, you have only so much depth here. So you don't want to necessarily do it on both sides. For a while, I had stuff going on both sides. And the way you draw this up in your mind, which is why I started putting blocks on the floor, but even with the blocks, you could draw it up all you want. it's going to feel a lot tighter once this stuff is physically built and in place. So I didn't want to go too crazy in this room. I really like the idea of what I'm doing. Obviously, this is the final call here. So we'll have essentially a custom Billy bookcase style setup over here, nice and open when you walk in. So when you're walking in here, you're not going to be blocked by something protruding out from the wall there, which is what I had in the last few passes of this. There's nothing going to be on the ground here. I'm going to put, and there's essentially nothing going to be here. I'm putting my Motu shipper that I found at the end of last year right there. I'm trying to hunt down one of those European exclusive Motu clocks that I'll put above it. Here is where I'm going to put my graded cards. So I'm having a custom graded card cabinet built that's going to go center right there in the middle of this wall. No plans to put anything below it at the moment, or ever, I guess, at least as far as custom cabinetry goes. And then on this wall, I'm going to do some art, either some art or I'll put some carded stuff on the wall. Most likely it's going to be some art, or I have this idea for, shout out to my buddy John from Toy Wiz, who is gifting me an original Heroes Quest. Any of you old cats know what Heroes Quest is. An original Heroes Quest box, complete. So we have some ideas for that. I might mount that on the wall over there. But that's just going to essentially be art, graded cards, Motu shipper, kind of leaving this as a flex space on the floor, and the nook for the rest of the toys. And that, folks, as we approach the center of the room again, is the final layout. Let's see how this actually turns out. Updates to follow. I love saying that. Hopefully I'll have one sometime this year. It's March 8th. I'm married, and I also, not only do I have a wife now, but I also have some light down here. Let me flip the camera around and give you guys, for the first time in close to a year, a substantial man cave update. Quick pan of the progress here to give you guys an idea of what's been happening. I think the best place to start is probably back here. All the way back here. Well, before we go anywhere, you guys can see some of the collection here. Collection, small fraction of it. Goes all the way back into there. Stuff over there, stuff in the bathroom. And there's plenty more upstairs and where that came from. So it wraps all the way down over here into there. There's a lot of stuff. But it's a lifetime of collecting. This sub panel is brand new. This was installed as a part of the electrical work for this project. We pop this open, you'll see all of these switches. These are tied to the room that's being built itself, and all of the gray panels that are not filled in, that is just space for growth for when we build out and finish the rest of the basement. So there's plenty of room for that. And so this seemed like it was necessary because the upstairs breaker was all filled. So we've got a little sub panel here installed now, which is great. This is just a servicing outlet, which I can use at any time. And then above that, we are eventually going to install a unit that's going to sync with the ERV system, the energy recovery ventilator that is going to be installed inside the room, which essentially is just an airflow system to bring in and push out old and new air to make sure that all the fresh air in here stays exactly as that, which is fresh. So this guy, the ERV, Panasonic, that thing is going to be installed more than likely in one of these bays right here. That vent, as you can kind of see, is already, that's been shut off. There's no air coming from the upstairs. That vent is just going to be removed. The ERV will be installed somewhere over here, and it will be connected to, through some piping, to the front of the house where 2 vents will be installed, and that's where the airflow will come in and out of. So that's not part of the electrical work, but it's tied to the sub panel that we just looked at that was installed. And as far as the lighting in here goes, Daddy's got switches. Look at that. Look at that. Oh, baby. So these lights are actually just temporary, but you can see how nice and bright it is in here already with temporary lights that aren't even a fraction of the number of lights that are going to be in here. All of these drops, these droppers right here, those all denote drops for lights. All of them. And so if you remember I believe the last walkthrough, these perimeter ones, these are all going to be the gimbal lights, which will be directed all down at each of the standalone displays that go around the perimeter of this room, all the way down. And then we're going to have the wafer lights. I don't know if I mentioned it. I'm using these wafer lights, which I believe I mentioned that. It's non-recessed. There's no canned lighting. It just sits flush. The lights just sit flush on the ceiling, which is really, really nice. So we're going to have that all the way down the room here. Some more gimbal over there. And then wafer lights here. And then there's going to be all built-in custom cabinets with LED strips from this wall to that wall. Again, big tower here with LED strips, big tower down there with LED strips. And as you can see, all of that electrical run is already set. These whips are all for the outlets that are going to be placed. These are all going to be outlets, outlets, outlets as they go around the room here. Walk past the workbench, outlets, and these blue boxes, these are actually going to be outlets for the outside of this room. So, and this has nothing to do with that room, but to stay within code, there needs to be outlets. There needs to be outlets all on this, standard 6 feet apart, standard height off the ground. Since we're going to be finishing the outside of this wall as well is going to be sheetrocked. It's not just the inside of the room. The outside of the room is going to be sheetrocked. So these are just outlets for this side of the room that you guys definitely don't care about. So it looks like we still need some whips over here. We're going to put the outlets standard height, same height as the outlets for the outside of the room. And they're going to be right on the wall, easily accessible, painted black. So it's coming along. Things are definitely coming along, as you guys can see here. It's crazy to actually have light back there. It's always been, just a deep, dark pit back there. And now even just having one temporary light, I mean, you can see what one light does. Imagine 3 plus an entire glow of LED strips in custom cabinets. So it's really, really awesome. Feels really good to see all of this progress. That is where we are at currently. The next step we need to get, my main contractor here is going to do some plumbing work behind us. That's going to get cleared. And then insulation, I have quotes for insulation already, quotes for sheetrock. I know I've been transparent with pricing thus far, and that's obviously not going to change. So I was going to just give you guys a full breakdown at the end of this video, but I might as well, and I probably will anyway. But the sheetrocking's going to cost, sheetrock is a little over $5,700. The insulation, and it's going to be literally in every single part of this room, all the way around, a little over $2,700. The electrical in total was $8,400. So if you do the math, things are adding up, all going to be well worth it. The framing was $4,500. The freaking permit was like $5,500. So we're getting there. We're getting there. We're almost there, sort of. But this is great progress. And as always, folks, updates to follow. Yo, 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 it is Monday, May 22nd. And as you can see all around me, things are finally starting to take shape. Any of you that have been following along on the community tab here on the channel and even on my Instagram, you'll know this past month we ran into another obstacle with my friggin' town. The building inspection for the framing here. For whatever reason, the building inspector from my town walked in to the finished bathroom that I inherited when I bought this house that is completely out of scope of this project. As you can see, there's no bathroom here. As we walk through, I will show you guys without trying to make you too dizzy. There's no bathroom anywhere in here, right? There is one on the other side of the room outside of this room that is being built. And for whatever reason, this guy walked in there and deemed it out of code, illegal. So we had to legalize it to do or to continue the rest of the work here in this room for whatever reason. When I tried to push back and ask why that was and what a bathroom that has nothing to do with and is totally unrelated to the project that is happening here in this room currently, couldn't get a straight answer from the building inspector, the town, or anybody. The house inspection is different from a code inspection or a town inspection, so that does not cover anything that the town may deem legal or illegal. The house inspector, when you go to buy a house, would never know that anyway, and there was explicit language when I went back to go check to essentially say that the house inspection is not a code inspection. It's another one of those fluffy inspections that really don't do much other than spend your money. The title inspection, same thing, another BS inspection. They don't even come in the house. They walk around the house. So kind of got a little screwed with this bathroom situation. Kind of a long story. And you guys got a taste of the whole permit piece. Just getting the permit took me 6 to 8 months, almost a freaking year. And then that was an additional, $5,500 in total. And now I had to fix the plumbing down here for this bathroom that I didn't ask for. That was another close to $4,000. So that is all out of the way. That inspection passed. And right after that, things have started to really pick up in here. As you can see behind me, this is all spray foam in this room and insulation. So the insulation went down first and then the spray foam after it. That took literally one day, done. The building inspector came back to inspect the insulation today. It passed, we passed, and I think it should be smooth sailing from here, folks. Tomorrow, May 23rd, Tuesday, sheetrocking begins. And once the sheetrock is laid down, which should not take any more than the rest of this week, I think I'm going to cut this phase 2 video and upload it for you guys so you can see everything up to this point. And then the phase 3 video will be the absolute final product, fully painted, all the cabinets, all the bells and whistles, and that is it. So, these last 2 videos, we've been going through the cleanup. We've been going through the arduous task of getting a permit, kind of talking about some of the underpinnings here and the finer details of the nuts and bolts and the guts of this room and what has gone into building it, including some of the budget. We will go over the entire budget at the end of this video. And then the phase 3 video, once that's out, that'll be the fun video where we get to walk through the final product and see all of it. So, but for now, insulation is done. You can really start to see this room taking form here, which is great. And I think I'm going to flip the camera around one time and walk through it quickly with you. You guys have seen this with absolutely nothing in it. At least now there's a little something. So why don't we go walk through? It'll be fun to kind of see the progression between, from going from walking through this room with absolutely nothing in it to a little something to the final product. So why don't we flip the camera around and walk through this room so we can start to see how this is starting to take form. Just want to give you guys a little idea of how the room is starting to take shape a little bit. That is going to be, I think I mentioned it sometime in this video, probably sometime last year. That's just open right now so the guys can get stuff in and out of here. That's going to be closed up. That's a wall. The only door here is going to be right here. Ingress, egress, you know, outside of the windows. But as you can see, things are starting to take shape. You can see the electrical whips hanging from the ceiling and also on the floor here for all the outlets. And why don't we walk down into what will be the toy nook. Give you guys a little look at that, little pan. It's pretty awesome to see some sort of wall forming here, or walls. Really exciting. I know the last walkthrough, I think I mentioned I was going to like put stuff here and put stuff there, like shelving, I think. I don't know. There have been so many walkthroughs, but I'm going to keep this open. I'm going to put a nice piece of art here that I have. That I mentioned is going to be the graded card wall. And over here, there's going to be another vintage art piece that I have. And below that, I'm going to put a little something I picked up at Toylanta on the ground, right on the floor. And then nothing is going to go here. So I'll be able to put like, you know, 2 gentleman chairs, a little seating area and an end table here to just kind of chill out. This will also be the area that I do a lot of YouTube filming in as well, since the floor here will be open. And then, as I mentioned in the last walkthrough, this whole area is going to be floor to ceiling, custom cabinets all lit up. So yeah, guys, this is starting to take form. I'm really excited. I think even for the final walkthrough, so not the phase 2 video that should be out next week, because sheetrocking is going to be done soon. Sheetrocking a word? I don't know. The sheetrock work is going to be done soon. And once that's done, I'll upload the phase 2 video, a year in the making, year plus. And but by the time we get to phase 3, which is the final product, there are some things, some wall mountable things. One that I'm going to put over there, and I know I just mentioned a couple of things that I'm going to put on the wall over there. So there are going to be a couple of things already populated in this room for the final phase 3 video, but we should just deal with what's in front of us. That's sheetrock and phase 2. That should be out, like I mentioned, next week. I'm very excited. This is starting to go quick. Finally, I think we should be done in less than a month. Crazy. Less than 1 day removed from our latest update, and we are fully sheetrocked. Amazing. I thought this was going to take a couple of days. Apparently not. And as you can see, this place is finally starting to look like a room. Late last night, my contractor came back, my main contractor, and we discussed the positioning of these lights. So all across this wall and across the perimeter of the main room here, all of those electrical whips are going to be gimbal lights. Small form factor, removable, adjustable lights. So last night, we discussed what the best positioning would be for these lights. When they were just hanging from the ceiling, they were about right there. So the discussion was what would be the best spot for them, so no matter how you move them, the shadows as they cast down onto each display, because if you remember through one of the many walkthroughs, each one of these gimbal lights will be associated with a standalone display box, 24 by 24 by 41. So we wanted to make sure that those whips are in the proper place, so the shadows that get casted are not awkward. So we went about 12 inches in from right here. So underneath this sheetrock where all the insulation is, they were naturally hanging from like right there. So we said that we wanted to have them right about where you see them 1 foot in. And I think that is going to be good. Here in the toy nook, something that pleasantly surprised me, these angled paneled walls. These look like they're wider. I have to measure because I remember what it was before the sheetrock came in, but these walls look wider than they naturally are after the sheetrock. So I'm happy about that. And I've struggled with what I wanted to do on these walls, but as I mentioned yesterday, it's a really great spot and opportunity to put some of my vintage posters and some art. And on this particular spot, I'm gonna put something on the floor there. And now after actually seeing the walls here, I'm not concerned at all about the floor piece getting in any sort of way of the actual cabinet, part of the cabinet here. So it's nice to be able to visually see that. And then another big vintage poster I'm going to put here. At one point I did think, do I put another light up display with more figures, but I don't want it to look too busy and like floor to ceiling. This is all gonna be custom cabinets and shelving. So like, I wanna put some art up too. And then in the middle here, of course, centered, we'll have a graded card display because I'm big into graded cards. And I think it'll be nice to have, some art, some classy vintage art, graded cards, vintage art. And yeah, that's pretty much it. Getting close, folks. Getting close. Okie dokie, folks. 1 year later, 1 year plus later, and we finally are done with phase 2. Phase 3, the last phase of this project, coming right up. I know I mentioned yesterday that I would go over a rundown of the cost up to this point. And I know I mentioned and showed you guys in the phase 1 video, the actual quote for the framing, the only thing that happened last year. I'm not gonna show you every quote, but we'll run down everything. I'm gonna round up a little bit because a lot of this stuff, is close to a number, like the insulation, for example, was like 2,700 and change, close to 2,800. So the insulation will say 2,800 for that. Happy with that quote. The sheetrock, 5,800. It was about a shade under that, but we'll say 5,800. I was also happy with that. I was happy with all the quotes. The only thing I'm not happy with is my stupid town. So 5,800 for the sheetrock, 2,800 for the insulation. It's going to be 3,400 for the floor. I decided to go with, I don't think I mentioned this to you guys, but I am going with a polished concrete look for the floor with a shiny, glossy finish, almost like a showroom or supermarket sort of deal. I opted out of the tile. I feel like it'll just look too busy. So I just decided to do something else, and I'm really happy with the choice that we're about to make with the floor. I definitely don't want busy. There's going to be a lot of stuff in this room, and I just feel like any sort of tile pattern, just the grout lines alone, is going to bother me. So nice and neat and clean, and 3,400, you can't really beat that. So it's cost effective as well, at least in my opinion. So happy with that. We'll see how that turns out. The electrical turned out to be 8,400. That I thought initially, like I said, even at the time, I wasn't sure what, the electrical was going to cost me for this sort of job. We also, did some other electrical work down here for future projects, like finishing out the rest of this basement. So the room that we carved out here is about 700 square feet, but my basement in total, in aggregate, is about 1,500 square feet. So eventually I'm going to finish the rest of this basement. So we put in another box, as I showed you guys earlier in this video, down here to account for growth. And with everything else that we're doing, the gimbals, the main light, The 4 switches that we're going to have here, managing all of that. The strip lights that are going to be installed in the cabinets, 8,400. I mean, it's not even close. The other quotes I had were astronomical. Some guy quoted me 17,000. Another guy quoted me 12,000. It's like, what? So yeah, so 8,400, and plus I really like the electrician. I really like that the guy that we're working with. Mike is the man. And so far so good. And what else can I tell you? My main contractor is taking off the top of each one of these subcontractors 17% for brokering the deals, putting his insurance on top of everything for the permits. He's also done some additional work that would, you know, it's kind of like robbing Peter to pay Paul, but, you know, he's doing some additional work that the cabinet maker isn't going to have to do and the sheetrocker isn't going to have to do. So he takes 17% across all of those guys. That roughly comes out to another 7,500 there. And then the cabinet maker, that's the big nut, as they say. That's 20 grand flat. Half of that is paid for. The deal was pay half up front, so that's all paid for. Well, half of it's paid for. The other half is ready to go whenever the cabinets get in here. But again, you're talking about, you know, 11 or 12 custom standalone displays in here, plus, you know, behind me, where's behind me? I don't know, behind me. There's going to be those 2 big towers, another big display, the whole kit and caboodle, you know, back there, behind me in the toy nook, bam. Floor to ceiling, a ton of stuff. The card case, if you go look at like Case or any of these other custom display companies, you know, you'll pay 10 grand for a fraction of what I'm getting. So, so all in all, that's actually a very good deal. I mean, he's decking out this whole room for 20 grand. You know, think custom cabinets for a kitchen are incredibly expensive. So along the lines of something like this, but typically kitchens aren't as big as this, and that stuff will cost more usually. So, and there was a little negotiation there too. He wanted at first, I think 24, 25, got him down to 20 even, and we're happy with that. So I'm giving him half cash at the end, sent him a check to start. And I think that's it. So all in all, we're pushing like 60 grand. And again, that's not including the 10 grand. I'm not including the permit cost because not everybody necessarily has a stupid town like I do. So I'm not including the 5,500 that I had to spend on getting the permit. And I'm not including the right around 4,000, we'll round up to 4,000 at the additional plumbing cost for my bathroom that had outdated plumbing. So that 10 grand aside, we're at around 60, and that should be it. So the next update you see, the next video you see will be phase 3. This place will be done, painted, floor all finished, cabinets in, and we will do a final walkthrough. I hope you guys are enjoying this ride. At this point, I am enjoying this ride. It's been a long road, but it's been a good one. It's been a fun one. It's given me time to really think about how I wanted to lay this room out. And I'm getting choked up here. Sounds like I'm crying, but I'm not. Oh, maybe I am. But it's been a long road, and it's been a godsend that I've had the time that I've had, that my town has been so stupid, because it's really given me a chance, like I mentioned, I think earlier in this video, to walk through this space and really figure out how I want it to look, what I want it to represent. And I'm ready. We're ready. We're almost here. We're almost home. Daddy's almost home. Like, comment, subscribe, and share. Let me know in the comments below what you guys think up to this point, and I'll see you in phase 3.